Waterloo, Iowa. On the morning of Friday, July 22nd, 1983, Kathy Hadley was awakened by a telephone call from her husband, Steve, who she thought was away on a business trip. He told her she would never see him again, but that she would find a letter from him under his T-shirts in the dresser.
Kathy, this is a very difficult letter to write, but I couldn't let you find out from someone else first. If I call you to read this letter, it means I have successfully left the state with around $1 million from the credit union. I started to fantasize about how easy it would be to get so much money. It has become a game to come up with ideas about how to do it and cover my trail. I don't expect you to understand what is compelling me to do something this drastic.
Steve Hadley's brazen crime and sudden disappearance surprised his wife Kathy and shocked his co-workers and friends. No one suspected Steve would even think of pulling off one of the largest employee larcenies in the history of the United States. Yet on Thursday, July 21st, 1983, he coolly walked out of the credit union where he worked with a fortune in untraceable bills. Steve Hadley was a father of 3 children, an usher at a local Catholic church, an avid jogger and biker, a regular, hard-working family man, or so it seemed. Hadley normally worked as a manager at the Northeast branch of the credit union in Waterloo, Iowa. For the week of the crime, he managed to position himself as part of a company training scheme as head teller at the main office.
Steve, I have a member at my window and he'd like to cash this check. Could I get your approval?
Sure.
Okay.
As head teller, Hadley had access to the credit union's main vaults. One of his tasks in this new job was to order the cash reserve for the upcoming payday, Friday. Hadley ordered much more cash than was normal.
No problem.
The interesting part of this whole thing is, during the middle of the day, he was real antsy about the money being delivered that day. He was real concerned about whether that money was going to be on time.
He seemed to like be in a hurry that day. He wanted us to hurry along and get things done quickly, so it seemed like he wanted to get out of there that night.
Just before lunch, Hadley made several secretive phone calls.
Hello, I'd like to make a reservation for a flight to Los Angeles tonight.
Also, in advance, he had contacted a local rent-a-car agency and had made arrangements to rent an automobile. Steve's taking of the money from the credit union was definitely not a spur-of-the-moment action on his part.
Hadley had a rather busy lunch break. He picked up the rental car, then drove to a local store and bought 2 suitcases and a wig.
Pretty good. Cash or charge?
When Hadley returned from lunch at 2:15, one of his first questions was to see if the cash had been delivered to the bank that day. It had not.
It was delivered later on, approximately 4 o'clock, by couriers. Stephen received that money in the vault of the credit union and then prepared it. But instead of putting it into the safe, he arranged it and then began to pack it into some large paper supply boxes.
Despite his well-laid plans, Hadley did not get away without a few close calls. At about 4:20, teller Vicki Ehlers experienced a problem with a pneumatic tube at her drive-up window. Vicki went to Steve for help.
When I went into the vault, I did think the money stacked up there was unusual, but then I also thought maybe that was Steve's way of counting the vault down. Kind of was dismissed from my mind. I didn't think it was anything important enough to alert anybody else about.
Between 4:30 and 5:15, the vault camera recorded a clear picture of Steve moving the piles of cash. By now, Steve had completely filled 2 cardboard boxes and was already packing a third. After he'd finished, Steve began to concoct a fake balance sheet. Again, he was interrupted. this time by teller Alice Waterman.
Steve, are you having trouble balancing?
No.
Okay. When I was going behind Steve, I looked over his shoulder, and I noticed he hadn't very many figures written down. And I was getting in the top vault. And all I would have had to do was to go in the next set of vaults, and I would have seen that the money was gone.
It is believed that earlier, Steve tampered with one of the computerized balance sheets, throwing off the cash accounting for the day.
We have a transfer for $82.75.
We had a teller that was off that night. She was off about $6,200. So while we were over there studying this and getting the offage corrected, he was at that time taking the money out the back door.
And then we have a check withdrawal for $12.71.
It was not unusual for him to be observed carrying boxes of supplies to an automobile where he would take them back to the branch office.
Here, Steve, let me get the door for you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Good night, ladies. Good night. See you tomorrow.
He loaded the 3 boxes into the rental automobile, which he had parked out behind the credit union, and drove directly to a motel. There he loaded the money into 2 suitcases, and later on we learned that the 2 suitcases weighed approximately 75 pounds each. He went then to the airport where he checked in, checking both of those 2 suitcases through to Los Angeles, California.
On the day of the crime, Hadley signed a commemorative autograph book for the office manager who was retiring.
Layton, going from the known to the unknown will be an uneasy but exciting feeling after so many years. Leaving is hard, giving up so much. But like the poet said, leave not with a whimper, but with a bang. Steve.
I think it's carefully describing what he was about to do. I believe Steve proved nothing more than he was a common thief. Or maybe an uncommon thief.
Steve Hadley's friends are mystified as to why he committed this audacious crime. Did Hadley simply want to become an instant millionaire? Or were there other more subtle, psychological motives?
I think the major thing that motivated Steve was to prove to the world that he was a very intelligent person. Intelligence meant perfection, and I think he wanted to prove to the world that he could do it.
In retrospect, I don't think Steve was after the money. I think Steve was after the recognition.
Steve's parting letter to his wife, Kathy, might also give some insight into his state of mind.
Kathy, I've been a failure about being a man, a husband, and a father at home. Plus, the rumor is each of the managers will take a part of the position I wanted. That leaves me dead-ended after 10 years of hard work. At least I got even. I'm really sorry about the publicity you and the kids will have to endure. But I'm afraid I'm losing my sanity. I'm sorry I took this way out. But I haven't had any experience at being a man lately. Steve.
Update. Steve Hadley has been arrested. Last month, the FBI distributed thousands of wanted posters of Hadley nationwide. The police in Friendswood, Texas, near Houston, recognized Hadley as a local resident.
I knew immediately who it was. There was no doubt in my mind, and when I showed it to the other officers who'd been in the investigation, they knew right off it was the same person.
Hadley had been living under the assumed name Richard Glenn Finley in this modest home. He had 2 cats, 2 expensive new cars, and a new wife. Hadley not only faces charges of larceny, but may be required to pay taxes on the stolen money.